Welcome to Tart Words. I'm your host, Linda Hengerer, and I'm a writer, a reader, and a baker. I talk to writers about their latest book and what inspires them, chat with fellow author Suzanne Fox about what writers can learn from reading their favorite authors, and share fast and easy recipes for anyone looking for a sweet treat. Join me as I share Tart Bites, Tart Thoughts, and Tart Words. Today on Tart Bites, I'm sharing my recipe for Pryaniki, which are Russian spice cookies. I'm American, and I'm always interested in learning about food from other countries. I love trying new food, especially desserts. Cozy mystery authors often talk about food in general and the food we incorporate into our stories and the recipes we share with readers. When I interviewed Amelia Neymark for the Tart Words podcast, we talked about Russian food and her favorite Russian treats. She's not a cozy mystery writer, but she is Russian, and she talked about Brighton Beach and the food available there. Brighton Beach is a neighborhood in Brooklyn near Coney Island that has a lot of Russian restaurants and markets. She mentioned Pryaniki and sent me the recipe that I changed a bit. See note 1 below for what I changed. I make gingerbread cupcakes every year at the holidays to send to friends and family, and found these cookies very similar in taste. These are soft cookies, not crunchy, and are delicious with coffee or tea. Ingredients: 1/2 cup instant coffee. I use Cafe Bustelo, but use your preferred instant coffee brand. 1/2 cup of hot water, 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1½ cups of honey, which is 12 liquid ounces, a half teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/2 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon ground clove, 1/2 teaspoon ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon ground nutmeg, 2 eggs lightly beaten, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda dissolved in 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. This will fizz up. 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. 6 cups of all-purpose flour. Powdered sugar for dusting if you're not making a glaze. Glaze ingredients: 4½ cups of powdered sugar, 1/2 cup of milk. Note 1. The original recipe called for 1/2 teaspoon of allspice and 1/2 teaspoon of anise extract. I omitted the anise extract and substituted cinnamon, clove, and ginger for the allspice. Use whatever spices you like and or have on hand. This recipe is flexible. Note 2. I didn't glaze the cookies the first time I made them, just dusted the tops while they were on the cooling rack a couple of times as the cookies cooled. The warm cookies will absorb the powdered sugar, so dust after they cool to keep a powdered sugar top. Note 3. The cookie dough sits overnight before baking. I mix these by hand in a large bowl. Note 4. This recipe makes about 10 dozen cookies if making tablespoon-sized dough balls. Have the recipe for about 5 dozen cookies. Directions: in a medium pot, dissolve the instant coffee in the hot water. Add the butter, sugar, and honey to the dissolved coffee and bring the mixture to a boil over medium heat. Stir occasionally until the sugar is dissolved and the mixture is fully combined. Remove from the heat and pour into a large bowl. Let cool for 10 to 15 minutes. Stir occasionally to keep the ingredients combined. To the cooled mixture, add the vanilla and spices. Stir to combine. Whisk in the beaten eggs, baking soda dissolved in vinegar, and baking powder. This will fizz in the bowl as you're mixing it. Add the flour and mix with a wooden spoon until all the flour is incorporated. Cover the bowl with plastic wrap and or a kitchen towel. Set aside at room temperature for at least 4 hours or overnight. When you're ready to bake, preheat the oven to 325 degrees. Line a rimmed baking sheet with parchment paper. Most likely you'll need at least 2 or 3 baking sheets lined with parchment paper for this recipe. Shape the cookie dough into balls. I used a small scoop to make tablespoon-sized balls and place them on the baking sheet flat side down. If you use a regular spoon, roll the dough into balls before placing on the baking sheet. Leave about 1 inch all around since these cookies will spread as they bake. Bake for 20 to 25 minutes, taking care not to overbake. These cookies should be soft, not hard. If you are glazing the cookies, mix up the glaze now while the cookies cool. You can add extract to flavor the glaze if you like. You can use vanilla or almond or mint or anise or any other flavor that you'd like that you think would go with these cookies. Dip cooled cookies into the glaze, letting the excess drip back into the glaze. Place glazed cookies on a rack or parchment paper to dry. If you want, you can glaze the other side after the first side is dry or glaze the tops only. If the glaze starts to thicken, add a few drops of milk to loosen the glaze. I didn't glaze the cookies, just dusted the top several times to get a good coating on top as the cookies cooled. The warmth will melt the powdered sugar into the cookies, so one dusting when they are warm will not be visible. Store the cookies at room temperature in a sealed container for up to 2 weeks. Freeze in an airtight container or plastic freezer bag for up to 3 months. Thaw cookies to room temperature before eating. These cookies were delicious, and I sent most of them off with my husband for his annual golf trip. His golfing buddies enjoyed the cookies, and so did I. I'll be adding these to my holiday baking rotation. They're easy to make, and this recipe makes a lot. Perfect for sending treats at holiday time. Thank you for joining me this week. To view the complete show notes and the links mentioned in today's episode, visit tartwords.com/tart340. Before you go, follow or subscribe for free to the podcast to receive new episodes when they're released. Follow now in the app you're using to listen to this podcast, or sign up for email alerts through an easy sign-up form for bakers, readers, and/or writers at tartwords.com/about. Thank you again for joining me, Linda Hengerer, for this episode of Tart Bites.